All right, guys, welcome to Wellness Wednesday, night edition, the first one. We're so excited to have you here. I'll just ask if you are unmuted, if you can mute yourself just so we don't get any feedback or background noise. And if you have questions, we will do a Q&A at the end. This is essential oils for every love language. So my name is Shannon Tremper. I am a doTERRA wellness advocate at the premier level. And I love what I do, and I love sharing oils, and I love using them in all aspects of our life. So I think you guys are going to have fun learning about how to use them to enhance our love language that we're trying to speak to each other. So Mark Twain once said, I can live 2 months on a good compliment. He must have had the same love language as me because I'm words of affirmation, right? So you figure if he got 6 compliments a year, he'd be good for the whole 12 months. But that's just one example of people recognizing their love language. Have you ever felt like you were showing someone love and they just weren't getting it? Or perhaps someone was trying to show you love and you're like, I'm not feeling loved by what you're doing. Much of the information that we're going to talk about is going to help us overcome that. And it's based, of course, on this book, The Five Love Languages by Dr. Gary Chapman. It's a great read. If you don't have the book, I highly suggest getting it. And I'm hoping that you all took the quiz and had your partners take the quiz. If you didn't, it's not too late. You can do that again later to make application of this. But we're going to talk about the 5 different love languages. Let me see if my slides are working. There we go. We have words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. So we're going to go through each of them. The basic idea is that each of us has a love language or a favored way that we perceive and receive love. So that doesn't mean that just because my love language is words of affirmation, I don't like getting gifts. Believe me, I like getting gifts. So we all have all of these, but we're trying to figure out what our primary one is and our spouse's primary love languages so that we can better communicate with each other and express our love in our relationships. Understanding your partners. This also applies to your children, your friends, even your coworkers. If you can figure out their love language, you can get along and speak better to them at work. All of these understandings help us to have deeper and more fulfilling relationships in our life. So let's talk about how love language miscommunications happen first. So when two people speak different primary love languages, miscommunications often occur in a predictable pattern. So I'll give you a scenario. An overworked couple. You might know a few of those, right? Partner number one's primary love language is acts of service. So we're going to call it that the he. He works extra hours to provide for the family. He takes care of all the household maintenance. He maybe manages the finances very meticulously. And he feels like he's really showing this deep love through his constant efforts. But let's say his wife's primary love language is quality time. So because he's always working, right? Performing those acts of service, she feels neglected despite that hard work, misses out on having conversations and shared experiences, views her partner's absence as a lack of love, and any efforts maybe to plan dates or things like that is met with, I'm too busy working for us. And so both partners end up feeling unloved despite their genuine efforts. So different interpretations of the same actions can lead to emotional disconnect. And there's other things that play in this too, like our family backgrounds. So family origins often shape our love language. If you were raised in a traditional family background, you'll often feel like love is shown through practical support. You might valuable tangible assistance. You might be uncomfortable with verbal expressions, and you might feel that demonstrating love comes through food and gifts. Now, if you come from a more modern family background, the emphasis there might have been on emotional expression, valuing big open conversations and communication, and expecting verbal and physical confirmation of love, and then prioritizing quality time and conversations over physical things. Then we add in modern technology, right? That makes a whole new way for our love languages to be misaligned. And in addition to that, we have the isolation that we all experienced during the pandemic, and that's kind of carried over and affected our relationships, even within our families, and especially at work and other places. So, isolation is really devastating the human psyche. That's why solitary confinement is considered one of the worst punishments you can be given. And we all know of how the babies that are held and loved and talked to in the nursery always thrive better than the babies that were not picked up and held. And so that need for human contact and expressions of love starts right from when we're born, and it doesn't end when we grow up. We still need it. So that's why the ancient Bible writers spoke about a husband and wife becoming one flesh. It didn't mean that any individual would lose their identity. It just meant that they would enter in each other's lives in a very deep and intimate way. And that's what we're all hoping for. Now, most of us realize that there's a difference between falling in love and real love, right? We recognize that the in love experience is a temporary emotional high. It's fun, but it doesn't last. And now we're really typically pursuing a real love with our spouse. It's a love that unites us with reason and emotions all in one. And our basic emotional need is not to fall in love, but a genuine love for one another, to know that that love grows out of reason and out of choice, not just instinct. And this kind of love requires effort and discipline. So we have to be willing to put in the work. And when we don't understand someone else's love languages, our expressions of love might get lost in translation. We must be willing to learn our spouse's primary love language if we're going to be effective in communicating our love to them. So it's a choice to expend our energy in this way. We really are doing it for the benefit of the other person, knowing that his or her life is going to be enriched by our efforts. And we find satisfaction in that. The old biblical basis, more happiness in giving, right? So by putting the time and effort into learning their love language and how to show it, it's going to also double our happiness. And we can feel like we're expressing love, but if the message is not getting to them in a way that they can receive it, we might be speaking basically a foreign language to them. Your emotional love language and that of your partner might be as different as Chinese and English. So, no matter how hard you try to express your love in English, if they only speak Chinese, you'll never have that connection and understanding that you want. So, being sincere is not enough. We really have to put in the effort to understand it, that each of us have a primary way, but we prefer to receive and express our love. And understanding those preferences can dramatically improve our relationships. And don't you know, life's deepest meaning really comes from the things we enjoy in our relationships and not from the things that we have. So it's important that we learn the love language of our spouse. So let's get into it and let's talk about these 5 things. So the first one we're going to address is words of affirmation. One way to express love emotionally is to use words that build up. Solomon, the author of the ancient Hebrew wisdom guide, wrote, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue." So many couples have not learned the tremendous power that their verbal affirming can have on each other, and we want to use that to our benefit. So, the definition of this love language word of affirmations is verbal expressions of care, appreciation, and love. So, some examples of this: genuine compliments. Set a goal to give your spouse a different compliment each day for a month. Say I love you and actually stop and take the time to say the words. Give them words of encouragement. The author suggests having a notebook and writing down things that you hear other people say that are encouraging or upbuilding to others, and then using them for yourself, especially if this is something you struggle with. Look for the strengths in your partners and tell them how much you appreciate those. And written notes or messages are the best when words of affirmation are your love language, because you can go back and reread them. You can keep them and benefit from them over and over. And then also, it talked about public acknowledgement. So give words of affirmation in front of others or to someone that you know will repeat it to your partner. So tell their mom how great their cooking is or whatever it is, she's going to be like, I was talking to Pete the other day and he told me how much he loves your fried chicken. Boy, that just amplifies those words of affirmation when someone else is repeating them. So use that also to your advantage. And the other key here is when you make a request to someone whose primary love language is words of affirmation, you're really affirming to them that they have worth and abilities. So you're in essence indicating that they have something they can give or something that they can do that's meaningful and worthwhile to you. Possibly the deepest human need is to feel appreciated, no matter what our love language is. So if we all use words of affirmation to other people, it's going to benefit our relationships for most individuals across the board. And just a side point here, verbal compliments are far greater at motivating anyone than nagging words, right? So on the screen, you see the roller. Now, I want to explain how this works. If your partner's love language is words of affirmation, you would make this roller to apply to yourself, right? So you're going to use it to give yourself boosts for words of affirmation. So the oils in here are 6 drops of bergamot, 4 drops of chamomile, and 2 drops of basil. And let's talk about why those were picked. Bergamot ignites optimism, and it also gives you courage and inner self-worth. So that's going to help you have more to say, right? The Roman chamomile, of course, is relaxing and calming, and it softens our personality. Sometimes we need that to give kind words. And then the 2 drops of basil are going to help with burnout, overwhelm, and give you energy. So you would combine all these with fractionated coconut oil in a 10 ml, and then roll on your throat, the back of your neck, and your pulse points. So this is unusual to roll this on your throat. That's not usually what we recommend, but we're trying to create words, right? So putting it on your throat is key for this particular roller. And just if you're wondering, the roller set was created by my friend Jody Hoffman, but the emotional benefit to the oils are all coming out of course, the Essential Emotions book that I love to have as a reference too. Okay, let's move on to our second love language, which is quality time. The definition of quality time is giving someone your undivided attention. And we know time is such a precious commodity. So there's a lot of value if we're giving someone our time. The key components of this one is a focused conversation. So asking questions, not being badgering, but having a genuine desire to really understand the other person's thoughts, feelings, desires, things that they want to do. Shared activities. So doing something with him or her that they really enjoy doing and doing it wholeheartedly. So this happens to be my husband's love language. He loves to fish. Now, I like to fish, but he loves to fish. So one of the things that is great for us is to get in the boat. There's no distractions and we just spend that time together, and it fills his love tank. And I love that about fishing. And it could be anything, but if you can figure out something that your spouse really loves and you can do it wholeheartedly with them, that's going to be awesome for someone whose love language is quality time. It also talked about active listening. So sharing experiences, thoughts, feelings, and desires in an uninterrupted context. So quality time isn't sitting in front of the TV because you're not sharing anything other than space, right? You want to create special moments. And this doesn't have to be, elaborate things. Taking a walk after dinner. The purpose is to do something together so that they feel like they're getting your undivided attention and your quality time. And then being fully present. So maintain that eye contact when you're talking so they know that you're actually listening. And the one thing I am working on so hard, no interrupting. Okay. So that's key when you're trying to give someone quality time. An important note, quality time means turning off your phones and eliminating other distractions. So like I said, some husbands and wife think this just means sitting by the TV together, but just being in close proximity does not qualify as quantity time. And other suggestions, we're working on a project together, maybe going to a concert that they love, taking some cooking classes, learning to garden, anything that meets these goals. Um, First thing is it has to be something that at least one of you wants to do. Two, it has to be something the other person is willing to do. And the key is number three, both of you know why you're doing it. It's to express love by being together. And these activities are going to provide a memory bank from which this person whose love language is quality time can draw for years to come. And I would highly recommend taking pictures. So when you're doing things, take pictures. And I love to just go on to Snapfish or one of those places and get some of those little picture books made up. My husband loves to sit and go through those and look at them and kind of relive the moments of quality time that we've had together too. So the roller that I made for myself, and if your spouse's love language is quality time, you're going to put in there 8 drops of vetiver, 6 drops of clary sage, and 4 drops of sandalwood. The vetiver, of course, is in there to help you be emotionally aware and present in the moment. Clary sage helps you be open-minded and imaginative, and the sandalwood is there to help you surrender and stop overthinking because you're trying to focus on the other person. So those are great oils to use. Again, you're going to put those in a 10 ml and roll those. This one gets rolled on your temples, the back of your neck, and the bottoms of your feet. And just as a side note, if you don't want to apply them topically to yourself, you can put these into a diffuser and use them that way. But it's most effective if you can go ahead and apply them on yourself. All right. Love language number 3, receiving gifts. People always think this is about materialism, but it's not. The definition of this one is the thoughtful process of giving and receiving presents. So you might say, I'm not a gift giver, or I don't know how to pick out gifts. I never learned how to select them. This just doesn't come to me naturally. Well, guess what? Congratulations. You just made the first discovery to being a great lover of someone whose love language is receiving gifts, because you're understanding that your spouse speaks a totally different language from you. And now that you've made that discovery, you can get on with the business of learning how to speak your second language, which is their love language. So here's where to start. You might want to make a list of things that they've received as gifts that got them really excited or that they really loved. Again, we're going to talk about a notebook. Keep a running list of those ideas. You can add to that other things that they may comment on that they would like to have, or they look at and they go, ooh, that's, make a list so that when you need to do a gift for them, you're not scrambling in your mind. You can go check your notes. And the other thing, if you are a person whose spouse is a person who loves gifts, you might have to change your attitude about money. Okay. When money's not easily leaving your hand, you might have to make a little adjustment in your attitude. We all have different emotions attached to money and how to handle it and how to spend it. But these things are about them feeling like they have something tangible that proves their love to you. So they don't have to be big things. They can be small things. They just really want something that symbolizes that you thought of them. So the selection process a lot of times matters more than the cost. So one suggestion is pick out a book, get a copy for each of you, read it together like a chapter a week, and then sit down and talk about it and enjoy that book together. That's not a very costly thing. It can be small things where you're on a walk after dinner, pick up a stone, talk about how smooth a stone is, and it reminds you of how your marriage is, how over time, the wear and tear has smoothed it out, right? Simple things like that. As our screen shows, a hand-picked wildflower can mean more than an expensive present or bouquet. So it's really about the thought and not about the material item. And if you really struggle with trying to figure out what to give as gifts, enlist the help of their friends. My best friend's husband will often call me and say, I need to get Louise a gift. What can I get her? And I'll rattle off a whole list for him, which he loves. Unfortunately, she's smart enough to know that when she gets a gift, she'll be like, did you help Scott with that? And I'll be like, yes. And he knows how to use his resources and be thankful for it. So just choosing things that you know they will enjoy, big or small, is going to really speak to them. And so the roller that you would make for yourself, for someone whose spouse is speaking the love language of gifts, is going to be this one that you see on the screen. It's going to be 8 drops of citrus bliss, because that's going to help you feel spontaneous, creative, and motivated. 6 drops of ylang ylang. That's to help you feel playful and free, right? If money's your problem, get the ylang ylang going, and joyful. And then 4 drops of black spruce. Black spruce helps you feel stable, resolute, and balanced. So this combination smells really good when I made it also. So this is a great one. Even if you're even if you're trying to come up with a gift for someone else, maybe roll some of this on you. It'll help you feel creative and find ways to gift others. All right, let's go on to our fourth one. This is acts of service. So the definition of this love language is actions that help or support others. It's interesting because criticism and demands tend to drive wedges, and our spouse's criticism about our behavior provides us with the clearest clue of their love language. Did you catch that? Our spouse's criticism about our behavior provides us with the clearest clue to their primary love language. So if you can't get your spouse to take the quiz, listen harder. You might be able to figure it out anyway. And it's surprising because, um, when I first taught this class a couple years ago, my husband agreed to take the quiz, and his love language being quality time was not what I expected. So this takes some sleuthing sometimes to figure out, or get them to just take the quiz. It'll help a lot. People tend to criticize their spouse most loudly in the area where they themselves have the deepest emotional need. The criticism is an ineffective way of pleading for love. So we can request things from each other, but we never want to demand anything. Requests are given directions to love, but demands stop the flow of love. So if you're someone whose love language is acts of service, you often will demand loudly what you want, um, even in a nagging way. And as we talked about, that's not going to get you what you need. But if your spouse has a love language that's acts of service, there are ways that you can meet that. So let's talk about that. Have your spouse make a list of 3 to 4 items that you could do that would make them feel loved. Now, this made me think of an episode of Everybody Loves Raymond. I don't know if you guys ever watched that show, but there's one episode where Raymond buys like the rainbow vacuum cleaner, right? From the sales guy that comes to the door. And his wife comes home. I can't think of her name right now. Anyway, the wife comes home and Raymond's like cleaning, and he's like doing the rainbow vac and showing her how it cleans the curtains. And she turns to him and says, "I've never been more attracted to you in my entire life." So buy the rainbow vacuum cleaner. But the point is, you got to use it, right, to make it work. So let's talk about some practical ways you can do this. Taking care of tasks without being asked. So today I'm going to show my love language to you by, I don't know, picking up clutter, weeding the garden, repairing something that's probably been broke for a long time, maybe caring for the pets or the kids without being asked. That's huge ways to express love to these people. Helping them with responsibilities, even if that means you hire someone to cut the lawn, so that neither of you have to do it. And making life easier in practical ways. So have them make a list of 10 items that they would like completed this month, and then have them prioritize them 1 through 10, and then go ahead and work on those. That's easy enough. If they give it to you, there's no guessing what they would like done. But then follow through on your commitment. This is huge. Do not tell someone whose love language is acts of service they're going to do something and then don't do it. Let your yes mean yes. And anticipate their needs. So during their favorite TV show, or if they're a sports fan, if they're watching their favorite football game, run interference for them. So handle the kids, make dinner, take care of the phone calls that come in so that they can enjoy that time to themselves. Another thing that I thought was a cool idea was exchanging chores. So we may not be able to like take on extra tasks for them, but say to them, "Hey, I want to help you out. So let's trade. You always do the laundry. I always load the dishwasher. Can I do the laundry this week and you take care of the dishwasher? And just see, make it clear to them that you're trying to help. And then again, always make a checklist of what you need to do and don't overcommit so that they're not disappointed. So some common things you could do: cooking meals, run some errands for them, help with projects, take care of a household task, and assist with work or studies. So I know like a lot of people are caregiving, right? They have parents or family members that need care. Offer to go over and do that for them this one time. You stay home. I'll run over and take, dinner to mom and dad or whatever needs to be done. Or if you have kids and there's homework that's got to be done and that spouse is the one who primarily does it, say, hey, let me give you a break. Let me help the kids with homework tonight and you can do something else. So those are great ways to do this. Let's talk about the roller that you would put on yourself if this is your mate's love language. Acts of service. So you're going to put 6 drops of motivate. I don't think I didn't even explain that one, but it's going to energize you to get stuff done. 6 drops of wild orange. That's going to be inspiring, make you feel like you have abundance to give and limitless solutions to offer. And then 4 drops of spearmint in here is going to inspire confidence that you can complete the task. And this one too smells delicious. This one smells really good in the diffuser if you would choose to use it that way. Okay, we'll talk about our last love language, which is physical touch. And a lot of people, when they read this one, they think it refers only to sexual contact, but of course not. Physical touch is defined as appropriate physical contact that communicates care, not always in a sexual nature. So think about in society, if it's a time of crisis or upset, what's our instinct? We hug each other, right? And babies, again, we'll go back to the babies in the nursery, they get picked up and held. That basic human touch leads to the development of them emotionally. So we don't outgrow that need for physical touch and contact. And people who have this love language as their primary love language want their spouse to reach out and touch them physically. And these can be simple things like walking into the grocery store, grab their hand, hold their hand while you walk in there, swipe their hair, hold hands when you pray at the Kingdom Hall or wherever you are. And in the presence of others, put your arm around them while you're standing and talking, or put your hand on their shoulder. These things speak volumes to their love language. And when you are at home, maybe one way that you can do this is just walk up to your partner, put your arms around them and say, have I told you lately how much I love you? Rub their back a little bit. That's always good. You're the best. And then untangle yourself and walk away and go on to another task. That simple stopping for a few minutes to give them physical contact is going to be huge in filling their tank for love. Types of touches that can be used: appropriate hugs, but also it's suggested looking for things that meet their tactile need, such as a cashmere sweater, right? So you're like wearing a hug and you gave it to them, so it's a win. Just a pat on the back, good job. Of course, holding hands, sitting close. So this is one of those situations when you're watching TV, if this is your mate's love language, don't sit across the room. Go sit on the couch right next to them. Put your arm around them, enjoy that time together, and fill their love tank with that physical touch. And supportive touch during difficult times. So this is the mate that if they're crying, you absolutely need to hold them. Put your arms around them and be supportive. And then nonverbal facial expressions, I thought was an interesting part of this love language. So I think we all know couples who like have, that look of an inside joke. This would be very important to cultivate with your mate so that you can exchange that. It's not a physical touch, but it's still that intimacy of exchanging looks. So if your spouse's primary love language is this, you want to, of course, be respectful of boundaries, and cultural differences can make a big way in how you express this love. So you want to ask them, are you okay with public displays of affection? And no doubt they're probably going to say yes. So the roller that goes with this one that you would make for yourself, if your partner's love language is physical touch, is listed here on the screen. It's 8 drops of Aroma Touch, the massage blend, of course, which is going to help you feel relaxed and centered. 6 drops of grapefruit. Grapefruit is a fascinating oil. It causes respect for physical um, needs and body perception. So a lot of times when we don't give physical touch, it's has a lot more to do with our perception of how we think we look or feel. And so by using the grapefruit, that's going to help us overcome that obstacle. And then 2 drops of cinnamon go on this one because that helps us feel attractive and has us having a healthy sexual appetite. So we want to add that into there. So this is a great to put in a 10 ml roller with fractionated coconut oil. Bear in mind the cinnamon always needs to be diluted because it's a hot oil. And you would roll this again on your temples. Make sure it does not roll into your eyes, the back of your neck, and the bottoms of your feet. So, and of course, we have the picture of holding hands. That's very key to this one. Okay, so we've gone through all 5. Let's kind of summarize here. Practical application. Notice what makes you feel most loved. Consider what you request most often from your mate. Think about what hurts the most when you miss it. And observe your natural way of showing love. This is going to help you really identify your key love language. And again, all of us probably speak all 5, but we're trying to focus on the primary one to help us have deeper and more meaningful relationships. Excuse me. And then that's learning the other person's love language. So have them take the quiz, make it easier on yourself, but also watch for what they complain about or criticize you over. Notice what they request and ask directly for their preferences. Have them make you a list, right? We talked about that. Have that notebook, write things down, keep track of it, and then observe how they show you love or try to show you love. That'll help you give a clue on how you can give them the best for them. And then practice steps. So set reminders to express your love differently. Put a reminder in your phone to, tidy up the bedroom and be like, hey, I picked up the bedroom for you, or whatever it is that you need to do. Keep a record of your efforts and ask your spouse for feedback and be patient while you're learning. Like learning any other language, it does not happen overnight. It takes practice, right? And repeat effort. So in conclusion, our takeaways really are all love languages are valid. And we all have a primary one that we're trying to speak to our mates. And again, this also applies to our children, our workmates, our friends. We want to have better relationships all around. We can use this to our advantage. Understanding these things improves our relationships. Adaptation takes time and practice. Clear communication is essential. So talk it out and start with small changes. This doesn't have to be overwhelming. So I'm going to give you a call to action. Identify your primary love language. Make sure your spouse knows what it is. Ask your loved ones about their preferences. Make a conscious effort to speak other languages all throughout your life, different people you deal with, and keep learning and adjusting. And I'm so glad you guys came tonight. This was really fun. I hope it was helpful. If you need the recipes, you can send me a message and I can send you all 5. If you didn't know which one you needed for yourself, for your spouse, or if you'd like them all, we can certainly post those for you. And if you are new to oils and you don't have these oils in your hands, connect with the person who invited you here tonight, and they'll be happy to help you figure out how to get those oils, figure out the things you need, and how to get rollers so that you can put those into there, or a diffuser to use it for your benefit. So thank you guys for coming tonight for our first Wellness Wednesday in the evening, and please join us next week. I forgot to grab the title. I was going to write it down, but I know it's going to be something good. We're doing all things about love in our heart this month. So tune in next week.